Welcome to the D&D Fitness Radio Podcast, brought to you by your hosts, Don Saladino from New York City and Derek Hansen from Vancouver, Canada. Don?
Hey, bud. How you doing?
Good to see you're employing the 3 feet of distance between people.
Hey,
Hi.
we are Derek, Melissa,
Hi,
Derek.
Hey, Melissa.
How are you?
Good.
How you guys doing over there?
I mean,
Well,
I think...
Vancouver. There's no one there, so why am I even asking?
So you guys aren't being affected the way that we are, it sounds like, no?
Well, there's like 53 cases, mostly isolated to a couple of care facilities, like for elderly. But it's just the same thing. Like, there's not a lot of testing going on, so who the hell knows, right? So
Absolutely.
How many cases do we have in New York now? Is it?
I don't know. I haven't checked in the last couple of hours.
I'm actually today's the first day I stopped going on the news.
It's a good idea. I'm going to talk about that.
And I'm feeling a lot better about it. So Derek, we'll just jump right into it. So Melissa Nesle, okay, is a friend, and she happens to be a psychotherapist. She has her MSW. She has a practice in New York City for 15 years.
Correct.
And I think, you and I are always discussing mental health, and I know we want to especially discuss today.
not a bad time to discuss it. Yeah,
it's not a bad time to discuss it. So why don't we take that topic of the coronavirus right now, and why don't we discuss a lot? Like, I understand you're a medical, but you're not that type of medical that's going to be able to determine what the best route of action for something like this is, right? No, so I'm saying that first just to be very clear.
Yeah.
We're not on here trying to tell anyone how to do preventative, but what we are trying to discuss today is the mental aspect of it and how there's a lot of different cooks in the kitchen giving their opinion.
Absolutely.
And what are you seeing?
So I think what I'm seeing in my own office is a heightened level of anxiety and hypervigilance, and people are a little bit in panic mode.
Right.
And I also want to sort of normalize that everybody out there is feeling anxious and distracted, and that's normal right now because we've never seen anything like this before. So I think people want to just know they're in good company. We're all feeling on high alert. We're all feeling distracted. But it's really important that we stay in touch with each other. One of the things I've seen in my office is I have a lot of folks that are working from home, so they're not in the office anymore. And one would say, well, that sounds great. We're working remotely, but people feel very isolated.
Yeah, that was the one thing, because the first question everyone's asking me is like, well, how's your business doing? It's just what people start. I mean, and like, has it been affected? Sure, it's been affected in the sense of like, there's a few people that have contacted us who have newborns at home and just are like, I'm not going to come in. Right, and I completely get it, but it hasn't been terrible. It's not a ghost town. It's active. People are here, but I gotta keep living. I gotta keep pushing on.
Yeah, absolutely. And I would say that the thing that I'm really encouraging people to continue to do is work out, exercise, try to stick to your routine if you can.
Right.
For a lot of people, you can't. There are people that they're not going to take the subway. It's too high risk, right?
Right.
They're not going to go into the office because they're not supposed to.
Right.
But exercise if you can. Stay in touch with your friends, your family.
Right. I'm actually Derek. And you've been on the subways here.
Yeah.
You haven't been on the Long Island Railroad, but I commuted in this morning at rush hour, and I was shocked. There was no one on there, and in the subway, there's no one on there, and I'm actually feeling really safe because I'm not surrounded by any people.
No,
I'm on there. I'm literally standing in the middle of the train with my hands folded. I'm not touching anything, and there's no one around me, and I feel safe. So
now, one of the most anxious things that I've noticed, at least here, because we have a 2-week spring break for kids, is that people have made travel plans, and now they're all asking me or whoever, should I take that flight? Like, that's the biggest anxiety, because if they don't, or they don't go to that condo in Hawaii that they've laid down 10 grand for, will they take that hit, or will they go and still feel what should they do, right?
And there's no answer, and I think that's what's really, really hard. Obviously, if you're European, you know that you can't come here, but here we don't really know what to do. I just canceled the trip to Mexico. I'm supposed to be in Mexico a week from today. I'm not going.
Bummer.
It's such a bummer. You have no idea. I think I'm going to go to Miami anyway.
Yeah.
But I think that I think people shouldn't panic, but are smart to think about staying local, mostly because we don't know what this is going to look like. And the idea of being obstructed coming back into the country, I think, is the issue.
Well, that's scary. I mean, the other day when they were saying that they were stopping flights from Europe, and then you're sitting there, and immediately I've friends of mine who just flew over to Paris or in England, and you're just thinking, well, wait a second, does that mean they're stranded there for 30 days?
And they might be. And so I think you have to strike a balance between not panicking, right? Not feeling like this is the end of the world, but also making common sense decisions. Nobody wants to cancel a vacation, but you also don't want to be stuck somewhere.
Yes.
Sorry about that, guys. Like,
no, don't worry, you're not on top of me. Don't feel bad.
That freaked me out. Okay, so I'm talking to you. Power goes out, lights go out, and I'm thinking, okay, at the end of the world.
End of the world.
And my daughter stayed home from school today, and she's turning everything on, and I guess it blew a breaker, but I'm fine now.
It was the blow dryer that killed the power.
Usually is, yeah. Sorry about that.
Don't be sorry. So where were we at?
We're talking about the travel and planes and trains and automobiles, whatever. Like, what should people do if the government's not restricting it?
Yeah, exactly. And I'm not an expert on that. I only know for myself that I think people, myself included, are going to take a financial hit.
Yeah.
I think some hotels, from what I understand, are offering flexible cancellation through April.
Yeah.
It's a judgment call, But I think from a mental health perspective, we have to sort of think things through and not panic. And you have to live your life, but you also have to make decisions that make sense. I
was supposed to go work. Sorry, Don. I was supposed to go work with an NFL team in a couple of weeks. And I was worried about that. I'm like, okay, I guess I got to fly there. And they called me and said, facilities closed for they've closed the facility for 2 or 3 weeks, so everything's on hold. So I was relieved, actually.
Right,
yeah.
Because they made the call.
Yeah.
It's really hard. We're waiting for the hotel to make the call or the airline, and they're not doing that.
No.
Naturally, because it's business. I mean, I'm torn here because I'm running a club. If the members don't want to come in, they don't have to come in. I'm asking the employees, are they fine? Are they comfortable? And if they know to tell us when they're not comfortable. And when that's starting, you heard Kim saying it on the way out of here, when we are short staffed because people want to, leave Dodge, then we'll have to close for a portion or revise our hours or do what we do. But I had a handful of members today come up to me and they're like, thank you for staying open. We really appreciate it. And I'm like, no, I appreciate it also. But you always question, is it the right decision?
Yeah. Yeah, no, and I think this is new territory, and that's what I was telling my patients this week. They're coming into my office, and they're Purelling, because I have Purell all over my office, and they don't know what the right thing is to do. They don't know whether to come into my office or do FaceTime sessions. They don't know whether they should go into the office.
Yeah, do people feel comfortable just going like, hey, let's just do a remote session?
Yes, I'm doing
okay.
Everyone the option to do remote sessions.
Yeah, why not?
Not just people who are elderly or compromised, people that have to take the subway, people that just want to stay home. We have to meet people where they're at right now, and not make anybody think they're crazy because they really want to minimize spreading and minimize risk. I think that's common sense. There's no right or wrong. We don't have a book for this. We don't have a way to help people deal with this. Is new.
Yeah.
And so I think acknowledging, though, that we're all feeling a little off is important, and that things are going to be okay. But everybody's feeling a little like there's something in the air.
Yeah, it's like everyone's a little spacey. Like, I didn't even see with members in this morning. Like, people are like, we're not going to talk about it, and they end up talking about it. Yeah. And it's just like, it's kind of, even getting home last night, I was just like, I can't look at my social media anymore. I can't look at the news. Where I get aggravated is when social media starts blowing information out of proportion, or people start posting, like false evidence. Like I went to repost something that I thought was informative, and then I found out it was false evidence, and I immediately was like, within seconds, I took it. I didn't even post it. So I'm sorry, I took it down. And you just start saying to yourself, wait a second, like, people are panicking, and then people like, I don't understand what panicking accomplishes out of this. Like,
Nothing.
I had someone reach out to me from Singapore, and I mean, I'm not going to mention her name, but she's literally, and I gotta read this part because it's a little nuts. Like, the first thing that comes in is, get out, lock your family down with supplies, look at this, see no one.
Oh my God.
And look at what I just got in here.
What's that from?
An old client of mine. I need to tell you, a fellow health nut, please get out, close up hiatus, and move out. New York City will be quarantined by the weekend. We,
It's just not helpful.
and they're in Singapore, and I appreciate the fact that but look at this message.
Yeah,
I
no,
mean,
that's craziness.
this is like 10 paragraphs, 15 paragraphs.
Yeah, it's just not helpful.
If that happens, Don, can you go down to Times Square and just sprint down Times Square like Tom Cruise did in that movie?
Oh my God.
I want to say, I think something else that's really important is that we limit social media. I know it's like it's so hard, right? We're addicted, and it's designed for that. But I think what I'm also telling people to do is limit their resources and their sources. So maybe you just listen to MSNBC. Maybe you just watch New York Times, but don't go back and forth to all different media, because you're gonna go
crazy.
Yeah, you know what I do, and it's really bad, is I will go, like, sometimes I'll go to Twitter, but sometimes I'll look at when the story was posted, and I'm looking for the most recent one. So if it says 2 days, I'm like, oh, that's old news.
Yeah.
Everything's old news. In the time I've been talking to you guys, it's old news. So it's hard, and it's okay to look, but maybe pick one thing. Like maybe it's just NPR. We try to limit the amount of stimulation that's coming at you.
Talk to me now, because we can keep going on about this, but talk to me about social media for a second, and talk to me about, listen, it's been an incredibly positive thing for someone like me and someone like Derek, but I've boundaries with it. Like I literally set it up like a business, because it is, and I have my pillars, and I know, like, I'm posting 90% of the stuff I post is to help educate people and help add value to their lives. And I don't even, like, if there's a call to action sometimes, it's not even to make money. And I say that genuinely. It's just because I got to cut down on the DMs I'm getting, or like, do you sell a program, et cetera. And that might be like, yeah, Don, you're full of shit. No, I'm dead serious. But how has social media kind of corrupted all of us, where anyone now can turn around and put something up? And what is this going to do to our heads? Not just us now as adults, but what about our children? Like, that's what I'm nervous about.
Yeah, I think we have reason to be nervous about it. And I think, it's important that we set boundaries around social media to tell kids and teenagers, and even for me to tell my patients, don't go online, don't go on Instagram. They're going to do it. But the research is out that it's leading to an increase in anxiety. It's leading to an increase in depression. Young women are feeling shitty about themselves.
Right.
And they're comparing themselves to these incredibly unrealistic images that they see. So I think it's not going away. So we just have to work on our relationship with social media.
That's a good way of putting it.
Take breaks when we need to, check in with our friends, maybe, have a buddy and decide that the two of you are going to, like, go on social media less the next day. Take some time off, take a break from it, because it's not going away. There's
got to be more boundaries. Derek, do you have anything for your kids? Do you have it? Because they have phones now, right? Obviously.
Yeah, it's so tough.
So tough.
Because it's like that, you don't want to restrict it so much that they want it more, but you want to let them have it just enough, and knowing what that line is very difficult. So we'll try to do things like, okay, we're in the same room as the family. Let's everybody put their stuff away. Let's talk, and just find opportunities like that to not just say don't do it, but replace it with something.
Yeah,
right?
like game night or something,
Yeah.
I think that's the way to do it. And so, because we're looking at our phones, we're not interacting in the way that we used to. I know a lot of people that have implemented things like game night, or you put your phone down at the dinner table, or.
Yep.
I'm wondering what this is going to do for, like, dating, because when I was growing up, like, and I could say this now, I'm married 13 years, but like there was.
Thank goodness, eh?
Yeah, no. there was something fun about going out and the uncertainty, and seeing someone that was attractive and the uncertainty, and having to like build up the guts and the courage to go talk to that person. it's like a lost art now. Now everything's an app and everyone's getting pre-approved. And
Absolutely.
do you think we're going to lose our children and our grandchildren going to lose the ability to communicate? Or is it less in I think a lot comes down to parenting also, but I think is it going to be that much more difficult now because no one's picking up a phone?
No, and I think that we've already lost a bit of that, right? I do dating coaching.
Wow.
If you look at my
Nice. Let's hear about that.
And well, what I'm telling people is that, you know, it's hard not to, but you're matched with somebody and immediately you're Googling them and you know so much about them before you're even, I mean, it's just happening all the time. And it does take that you're talking about, Don, sort of the mystery and the excitement away because you've already learned that, like, oh, so-and-so, you know, has a house here or they're divorced and they've got this many kids. You see pictures of them and their children skiing and you haven't even met them yet.
Right.
And
It's like going to Ancestry.com and you see their dating history. You're like, oh.
you can figure out what their address is, you know? And it's a shame. So I think we have to use self-control because the information's out there. We can't go backwards. It just is. And I encourage people to try not to, you know, make sure that they exist and that they're who they say they are, because you wouldn't believe the stories I hear.
How about the concept of just patience? Like, I wanted to ask you that. Like, okay, I'm in a like I've heard people say like, oh, I had a date and I don't like this, so they just like swipe that person away and then get another person, rather than like staying the course and seeing like maybe there's something that's really good about this person. You know.
So right, it's a bunch of kids in a candy store, and so people are kind of, it's like a throwaway culture. It's too easy to give up on something. You know,
like, has there ever been a time when either of you have gone on Amazon and you've chosen to receive it later, the package or whatever? If it's free, do you want free in 3 days or free in 1?
Absolutely, and we pay more to get it sooner.
Yeah.
And it's like that with dating, and it's a shame. But I think we as people can take charge and slow it down and try to be more mindful and give people a chance.
Yeah, we're also not like so much as being, there's even more judgment on looks now. You're going out apps. I mean, how many times can you remember going out with someone and out of nowhere you're just having a conversation? You're like, oh wow, like something's kind of something grows a little bit and something comes out of the woodworks. I mean, shit, I want to know how to date right now. If I
somebody said there's a dating app where you don't get to, you see like a blurred image, but you learn about them and you talk to them, but you don't actually get to see their face until you've interacted with them a certain amount of times.
Yeah, that's interesting. I wonder if that works. It sounds like a great concept, but I mean, I don't know, man.
There's a TV show right now called, I think, Love is Blind, and that's what they're doing on this TV show. They're telling me about it every day. They're all watching it, where you sort of you don't meet the person until you're already in love with them. There's so much craziness going on in this situation.
Do you also think it's the fact that people aren't putting themselves into that situation to be successful? It's like, it almost reminds me of someone who's like, I can't get into shape. And actually, I had a member of mine, I'm not mentioning the name, but I had a member of mine, I don't know why I keep saying that, but I'm just going on record.
I know who it is.
I had a member of mine a couple months ago come to me and was complaining that, like, I'm gaining weight. Why am I gaining weight? I'm like, dude, how many days this month were you in the gym? He's like, oh, a few. I'm like, dude, you're in twice. Like, you got to work at things to get better at those things. And you have to put yourself out there to be able to meet someone. And when a female friend of mine comes to me and she starts complaining because she can't meet anyone, and I'm like, yeah, but you're not going out. You're sitting in your apartment. What's that about?
People are afraid of getting hurt. They're afraid because of this culture. And, you know, I understand that, because if you go on a bad date, you could get ghosted. People don't respond. It is very much a throwaway culture. But I tell people, like, you aren't going to meet them. They're not going to show up at your door.
Derek, do you know what ghosted is, Derek? I'm just curious.
Yeah, they just don't contact you. They don't respond to you. Like,
literally.
Well, come on, my wife does it every once in a while. I know what it is.
It's to the point now where people are figuring out that if someone has an iPhone and you know your text messages are blue, right? All of a sudden, sometimes a message won't go through. And what we figured out is that means someone's blocked you.
Oh, wow.
And the message comes out green, right? where it's not an iMessage.
So if green, someone's blocked you.
Have you ever been blocked?
Have I ever been blocked?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm just curious.
I don't know. I mean,
you haven't dated in this culture.
I haven't dated in this culture.
Oh, yeah.
Have I had friends of mine or people that I thought I was cool with stop following me on social media? Sure.
Yeah,
at a certain time, I got to be honest, you're kind of saying to yourself, what the fuck? Like,
right.
What did I do? Like,
Exactly.
you know, type of thing. But then after a while, like I started thinking about it. I'm like, wait a second, I put a lot of stuff on my feed. Maybe someone just doesn't want to see that all the time. And I'm trying to give them the benefit of the doubt, but I still almost think, like, there's people I follow that, to be honest, I don't really want to follow anymore because it's not that I don't like them.
Okay, you can tell me to my face, Don. You don't have to follow me.
I actually learn a lot of stuff. But there's certain people that put stuff up and it's just kind of irrelevant. And I can see now, because I'll act them alike, but I'll keep following them because I like them and I don't want to insult them.
Right.
So that's, I don't know.
There's so much personal injury that's happening right now, whether it's with dating or with Instagram, of following, not following, liking, not liking something.
What's wrong with failing, by the way? I mean,
right.
God, I remember all the times I get rejected trying to pick up a woman, and I almost maybe I'm sick because of this, but I remember a couple times just being like, yeah, man, but I approached it, and I almost like looked at it that way, and I was like, and every time I get shot down, I would say to myself, I just felt like more accomplished because I was like not beating that fear, but just getting more confident as time went on.
Absolutely.
Is that a bad attitude, or is that
a great attitude? It's sort of like, if you don't risk,
right?
If there's no risk, you're not going to go anywhere. It's like being in a comfort zone, right? And I talk about that a lot. The growth doesn't happen in the comfort zone. That's true with relationships. It's
true with training.
With training.
Yeah.
It's true with a lot of things. We just don't grow. We can stay safe and comfortable, and nothing's going to change.
That's a problem today too. I mean, I'm noticing that not just with dating, but I think in the work environment. And Derek, I think you could probably relate to this a lot because you are, and I don't mean that from a dating standpoint. You're already laughing. I'm not going. Your wife will kill me. I'm talking about coaches you coach or lectures that you give, or when you travel to teach and give seminars. I know I get reached out to daily from coaches, and the person I feel the worst about is Gary Vaynerchuk. It's like, I was listening to something he was saying the other day, and everyone always reaches out to him, not only for the answer, but for like the answer and the direction. Like, they almost don't want to think. And now when people come up to me, they're like, I don't know what to do. You almost start getting a little frustrated because I'm like, you're 23 years old. Like, you're a senior in high school. Relax. You're not going to build a digital empire up. I didn't know what I wanted to do until after I graduated college.
Yes, people get really nervous. I work with college students too. And they're thinking they don't know what they want to be when they grow up. And it's like, well, think about what we all did. We're probably not doing what we thought we were going to do, or it looks a lot different.
Well,
I was an advertising major.
Oh my God.
I mean,
okay.
Right? I've been a psychotherapist for 26 years now, but I studied advertising. We changed.
Yeah, same.
And people need to trust the process.
Yeah.
People just want to know, just like we want to know about this virus. We want the answer. We want
Now, I have a question. With all of this stuff we're talking about, is it not bad to have a heavy reset because of this type of whatever epidemic disaster? Like, do you think we kind of need this as a bit of a wake-up call?
Yes, Derek, I do. I think anything is an opportunity. So one of the things we can start to do is what I'm always saying, be grateful. Do a gratitude list. And this is, people roll their eyes when they hear gratitude because we're bouncing that term around so much. But truly, like, now's the time. Okay, so I'm not going to Mexico. Someone else's wedding is being disrupted. Someone's parent is sick. This is big stuff, and we have to just like be mindful and look at what's around us, our families, our health, the fact that, our kids are okay, our relationships, stay connected to people that you love. If you're quarantined for some reason, FaceTime, just be in touch with people. It's a great time to reset.
Yeah, we almost have too much freedom, wouldn't you say, Don? Like, obviously, if you're in China or Korea or whatever, they can clamp down because that's the way their societies are. But do you think we have almost too much freedom?
as human beings?
Yeah, like I can buy this, I can go there, I can travel wherever I want. Is that a bad thing?
I mean, I don't know. I mean, this is life. I mean,
I can access information quickly. I can.
Part of life, I think, is just like going. And I want to get your opinion, but like, aren't we here to experience? And aren't we here? Like, what are we doing this all for? Like, none of us are sitting here in 50, 60 years. Like, we're gone. Like, it's just.
We have to remind ourselves of that every day. But we do have a lot of choices, right? And sometimes it can feel like too much. But yeah, I think that it's good to push ourselves. It's good that we have options.
I agree. I think people just burn. I think people want their cake and eat it too, though. I think it's one of those things where they burn it at both ends. And what frustrates me is, again, it's like assessing why someone's not meeting someone else. Well, you haven't gone on a date in 2 months. They're not going to show up to your, like, oh, why aren't you getting in shape? Oh, well, you haven't been to the gym. Oh, well, why are you getting sick? Now, I know this is something completely different, but people also don't take good care of themselves. And I see this every day in our lives, and they're complaining. And like, we have one body. Like, I take it pretty seriously. Do I like to go out and have a few drinks every once? Sure.
You have to let yourself
go. But you, like 90% of the time, you can't burn it at both ends. It catches up on you.
It will always catch up with you. And not dealing with issues like anxiety and depression and mental health, that will also catch up with you. You have to take care of your body. You have to take care of your mind.
What percentage of our population is suffering from one of those three? Do you know a statistic on that? I mean,
I don't have a statistic off the top of my head, but I do know that a lot of people have depression and anxiety. And, depression is different than just having a bad day or waking up on the wrong side of the bed. But depression is a real clinical thing, and anxiety is a real clinical thing.
Right.
And I think we should talk about it because, there's still a stigma. We live in New York City. Everybody's in therapy. Everybody talks about their issues here in New York. It's not like that in the rest of the country.
We forget about that, too.
Yeah, we do. But once you start talking about someone that that has depression or anxiety, the person you're talking to says, oh, my God, my aunt has depression, or my sister, or my cousin, or my kid. So I don't have a number, but it's prevalent.
I just assume everybody has it, and I just try to treat them nicely, right? Like, it's like the default position.
Just treating people nicely as if is a really good philosophy.
Yeah.
I think that's also important and overlooked, and you said it was, you should seek professional help.
Yes.
And, not reaching out to someone on a social media handle that you don't know. And
no.
Yeah, and that's, and it all walks. Like, if you have pain in your body, if you're suffering from something like depression, like there are professionals out there that are not someone like myself. Do not come to someone like me and ask me what to do for your elbow that's killing you. Like, I just think we're also going to the wrong sources for the answers.
Because people are so accessible. It's true.
Yeah, it's true.
I think, there's no shame in asking for help. I think it's a real strength. And I don't know if the people that you see, Don, are like so strong and fixated on healing their bodies, but like, it's also okay to ask for help 100%. With thoughts and feelings.
Yeah, I kind of see this as like Mother Nature's market correction. So like you'll see that in all these areas where they've had outbreaks, guess what improves? Air quality, right? In China, they have satellite photos that show that air quality, because people aren't driving around and factories aren't going or whatever. And same in Milan, Northern Italy, air quality has improved, right? And then here,
did they do that study already? Did they?
Yeah.
That's incredible.
Wow.
Yeah. And so they've also, they've talked about what you said, like if you're obese, you're at a higher risk factor to actually, die from coronavirus, or if you smoke, right? So these are ways of, trying to balance things out. Maybe like, hey, maybe you should be in better shape. Maybe you shouldn't smoke. It's interesting.
It's a really good opportunity to look at ourselves in different ways.
So a psychotherapist, what does that all entail now? So what is exactly, if someone's coming to you, what are the characteristics that...
God, it could be anything. Sometimes people come to a psychotherapist because they want to talk about a relationship issue that they're having. Sometimes they come because they're being treated for depression and they might be taking medication for depression and still need to talk to somebody about how to manage their symptoms. Here in New York, I have a population of people that are functioning very well. They don't necessarily have any major mental illness. This is New York. They want to talk to somebody that's not just their friend or their partner. somebody who can be objective. So the role of a psychotherapist is varied.
Can you dissect someone, like if you're sitting there just talking with them like me right now?
Like you right now?
Yeah, you ever like get in my head a little bit? Or is
Yeah, right now I am.
Yeah,
No,
exactly.
I try not to do that. I'm not.
Oh my God.
I'm not at work right
Crawling
now.
under the table.
No, but I think no, I don't. I try not to do that. You know,
Right.
I think I'm definitely doing that when I'm working with a person, but I don't want to work when I'm not in the office.
That makes
I don't
sense.
want to analyze people. I just want to have fun when I'm not there.
We can dive in on Derek's head right now and let us know what's going on in his noodle over there. He's living in semi-seclusion.
Yep.
Oh,
I went through that thing of like, well, maybe I should just pull my kids out of school, and I got really insecure about all of this stuff going on. So it's kind of like you got to take a breath.
You do have to take a breath.
Now I'm gonna ask something, and I didn't want to ask it because it could be, I think it could be misinterpreted. But do you also think when things like this happen, it starts becoming an excuse for individuals to leave work and for them to take time off? And like, do you think sometimes in certain, because I'll see people, I'll never forget the blackout, like no one can work.
I remember.
Right? Remember the blackouts? New York City went like dark for what? It was like 48 hours.
Yeah, and it was hot.
It was hot.
It was brutal.
Suddenly, no one's able to work, and they have to leave the work environment. But the next thing you know, everyone's at bars drinking, and they're able to drink. It's
the
like,
answer is yes. You're always going to have people, though. People are people. You will always have people that will take advantage of a situation. I think fundamentally, most people are good and they want to show up and do their job, but there are always going to be those people.
And I felt bad saying it, but it almost like, I know people are unfortunately dying and they're sick, but it almost reminded me of like the snow day when you're running outside and you're like, okay, there's a problem. There's snow. This is too dangerous to drive. I can't tell you how many snow days I had growing up where like my mom and dad could have got me to school, no problem.
Oh, absolutely.
Like there was a layer of snow down there. And that's why I'm saying, like, is New York City right now?
This is a snow day for sure. This is one extended snow day.
Right. But is the city dangerous right now? There's no one here. I don't know. That's my question.
Yeah.
And someone's going to shoot me for even asking that question. But
no, I think there's such a balance we're trying to strike right now between living our lives and being extra careful.
They said the other day, I think 13 people in Aspen. Did you hear about that?
I did hear about that.
That's the last one. I mean, you'd think like a ski mountain. Like how the hell? Like you're
one person. Started with one person.
Right. Scary shit.
It's scary shit.
So what else from the psychotherapy standpoint?
Yeah. One question I had was, I mean, we always talk about this idea of like who needs to be medicated, who doesn't, or what are issues around that, and is that a valid solution for anxiety, or I mean, obviously they want to start with you and using the basic stuff.
I think this is such an important question. Yes, you want to start with me, but there are people, and I have 17 years with psychiatry in the Department of Psychiatry at Columbia Presbyterian Hospital and Medical Center, and I will tell you that there are people that absolutely need medication for what is a major mental illness or symptoms. It doesn't even have to be a major mental illness. You can have symptoms. You can have therapy and work really hard and still not be able to function or not function as well without medicine. And I think that people are very reluctant. I don't think we should be using medicine without thinking it through carefully and looking at side effects. And if you have children, you want to speak to doctors and get second opinions. I don't think we should take it lightly, but I don't think that we necessarily should say that medicine is bad. There are people that it's life-saving for them.
Why does that happen? Is that a result of social media also? Is that a result of, now influencers are trying to educate and they're trying to be well-known subjects? And, I see it a lot in the city with the yoga mom who's, just like, well, no, it's, juicing. Like, all you do is juice, and chemotherapy is not important. I'm like, no, it is.
Well, exactly. Yeah. And, when I try to help people look at mental health issues as a medical situation for people, that we are neurologically and biologically impacted. And so you would never say, I'm not going to get chemo to deal with cancer. I'm just going to meditate and talk about it or change my diet. Yes, change your diet. Do all of those things, and you still need to get medical treatment. It's not, one doesn't preclude the other. We need to sort of approach it from a holistic standpoint. That doesn't mean we don't take medication when we need it.
If I go see a mental health professional, is this like a one-time thing? Is this a long-term relationship? Is it okay to, go like, maybe I would go to a physical therapist and like, it would
Yes.
be, you know what I mean? Like that, I think
Yeah.
people have questions around that. Like, will it be solved in one time?
Yeah.
I think that's an
I
interesting.
can absolutely speak to that. And the answer is it depends. It's so annoying, but I don't have the answer, right? For some people, I've been seeing somebody for 10 and 12 years sometimes. And for others, I see them for 4 sessions. They come in and they're working on something very specific, right? Like I'm going through a breakup, perfect example, or a job change. And I just need a few sessions to try to figure out what direction to take. So it can look like that.
I went to a therapist for maybe 3 years back in like the early 2000s. And the reason why I stopped was because he retired.
Okay.
And I loved him. But to this day now, I mean, we're talking 16, 17 years later.
Yeah.
There's almost not, I don't want to say not a day, but I'd say there's probably not a week that goes by that something that he told me doesn't resonate.
Yeah, I love that. I love to hear that.
He was such a huge influence.
Right?
Like the number one line that he gave me was clean your side of the street. At a time in my life where I was involving myself with too much different stuff with family or friends or whatever.
Yes.
And I don't mean from a health standpoint, but other aspects of my own life. And when I focused on, in a way, getting a little selfish and having, or feeling like I was getting selfish, it's not selfish.
It can feel that way.
Right. But I mean, and that's, I think he was one of the reasons why I was able to become successful in one aspect.
Absolutely.
And I wish I was still seeing him. I mean, it's one of those things where in my life right now, I feel like this is probably the best place I've been in a long time, but there's still things that I want to work on and I want to improve.
There's always things. And so I feel like some of the best uses of therapy is when we can go in and out, right? Different things happen in our life and we go in for what I call a tune-up.
Right.
You know, you can not see your therapist for 10 years and then you go through some kind of life circumstance and you just want a sounding board and a place to go. And it can go like that. It doesn't have to be a set time frame.
So how does someone go about hiring someone like yourself? Like, how does someone go about like setting that up? I mean, if someone's living in the Midwest and they're listening to this right now and they're like, where do I go? Does insurance cover this? I have no idea.
It's such a good question. And it's a huge question. I think there are websites you can go to, Psychology Today. You can, for people that need to use their insurance, because a lot of therapists participate with insurance. I don't. And you call the mental health number on the back of your insurance card and you say that you want a list of therapists that are in network for your insurance. Sometimes it's word of mouth. If you feel comfortable asking a friend or a family member, do you know of anybody? It's very common that someone once saw a therapist. But
is that intrusive though? Is that intrusive? Like if you are Derek's therapist, and I go to Derek one day and I'm like, Derek, who are you using as a therapist right now? Like, is that something where Derek's going to be like, I know there's a professional code of conduct.
Yeah.
But is that something where I like, you know what I'm saying?
Derek would have the right to say, hey, dude, this is my therapist.
Right.
I'll get named for you.
I don't want to share. I do not want to share my therapist.
There are people that do share their therapist. I work with different people that have connections to each other. And in that case, your boundary as a therapist just has to be very clear. I would never, nor would I ever speak about any of my patients, but you just keep your boundaries. But I think that if you've got a very, very dear friend or family member, it would be nice for them to see somebody else. So you could ask Derek, I'm not saying that you have therapists.
I would share my therapist with you, just so you know.
Thank you.
So you can ask for her name because most therapists have acquaintances and colleagues that they know.
Now, as a therapist, so say you're seeing Dawn and I, and
as couples,
oh my God,
separately,
couples therapy.
And, there's some issues between us. How does that not bias your individual sessions with us? Do you know what I mean? Like knowing.
I do know what you mean, and I think in those cases, the therapist has responsibility if they think that they're going to be influenced to not work with both of you, not work.
Yeah.
With you really have to be very clear, and we're human, right? Like we can't necessarily guarantee. So I think it's important for therapists to really draw a boundary there.
But are sometimes you sit with couples, right?
I do.
Okay. Are you ever in a room with a couple and you're like, all right, well, he's just flat out wrong? Like, how do you deal? Because first off, like, you respect the fact that they're both in there trying to work on it.
Absolutely.
Right. So
that's the most important.
Right. And you're I think that. Right. So I would assume that you're trying not to beat up, both parties.
No.
But do you have to just turn around sometimes, or you not do that, or do you enable them to figure it out, or are you just very blatant, like, listen, no, we're like, I'm agreeing with her. Like, can you do that? I mean,
I tend to be very upfront and authentic, and I don't pull punches.
I love it.
I'm super clear with people, but at the same time, the idea is that you want to help these two people. Right. And if I'm alienating somebody and telling them they're wrong, they're not going to come back, right? It's going to be a fight. And so if I don't agree, or if I really see that one person is really like putting up a fight that's not helpful, I'm going to find a way to say that. But your style is important. The way that you come across, you don't want to alienate people because you want them to be there working.
I would love to see sit in on a session where she's talking with you and Charlie. That'd be awesome.
Yeah, Charlie. I was just with Charlie. He's in the next room.
I'm joking.
Him and I are amazing.
I'd love to see it.
That's not what he says.
I would love it. He doesn't say that, really?
I'm really fortunate. And I love what I do, and couples are a lot of fun to work with. It can be hard. It's hard work.
It also has to be really fulfilling. I think when you start cracking that code a little bit, or assisting and helping them get it together. Yeah. Can you, when you sit with a couple, like, you've been doing this a long time, are you just like, all right, like, this isn't gonna work out? Like, it sounds terrible, but like,
do you walk away, or do you tell them not to come back ever? Like, is there like?
There have been very few, right? Because my whole thing is, if they're still showing up, even if they're being terrible to each other, the fact that they're both sitting there means there's hope, there's something to work with. There have been times where one person doesn't want to be there and they're almost refusing, and the other one is dragging them. And there have been times when I've said, you know what, it's just a fight. You both have to have some commitment here. Right. And I have told people, like, look, I could take your money, but this doesn't seem to be moving in the right direction. So.
Are you able to really help a couple out to where they're able to go on this new chapter of their life where there's no real issues? Or I mean, not like the old issues. There's always issues, but the old issues are gone. Like,
it's so incredibly fulfilling. Sometimes it takes a while, but I not that long ago, I had a couple and they were like, look, we really liked you, but like, we're good now. And they sort of went off. It doesn't mean they won't come back to me, right? At some point.
But you don't need that weekly thing anymore. Maybe
it's just like, or maybe they come in for a tune-up. Right.
How often's a tune-up? Like once a month? Like once a month?
It could be not for 2 years, and then they call and they're like, we had a rough patch, or we're pregnant again, and we need a little bit of support.
That's awesome. I love it.
So it's incredibly rewarding.
These seem like really basic questions for you, but like, I know these are things that I've thought about, and like people.
Oh, I got a great question.
Yeah.
It's great.
How do you approach? So say, you're a business, you're an entity. How do you approach like marketing, advertising? Like, how do you get patients without it going like, hey, you seriously have a problem, you should see me?
Dr. Nesle.
Yeah, I'm not on the street.
I mean, obviously you get referrals, but
if your head is fucked up, then my number is.
What's great is I get, and this always feels good, I get a lot of referrals from people that might have worked with me at one time, and they say, hey, I'm going to have my cousin contact you, or I'm going to have an old roommate of mine contact you. And so I get a lot of referrals that way, which feels wonderful, right? They say, you helped me, I want you to help this person of mine, a friend of mine. So I get them that way. I also have a pretty long-standing relationship with a lot of other therapists and psychiatrists through all my years of working in New York and through my association with Columbia. So I know a lot of people, and I get referrals that way. But it's a good question, and there are websites out there. There's one in particular. There's my website, which you can Google me and find. It's melissanesle.com. And then there are websites, like I had mentioned, Psychology Today. There's a website called My Wellbeing, which actually matches therapists with clients.
That's amazing.
It's amazing. Like, think about like a dating matching service. And that's a wonderful way. But most of my referrals come from people that know me, which is great.
So melissanesle.com, what about social handles and stuff like that?
So I have an Instagram, Mindfully Melissa. And I'm not, I will be honest, I'm not a huge poster, but I'm out there. Yeah, but my website's pretty clear.
How about athletes?
Yeah.
Are you working with any? Is it something?
I have worked with athletes. I've worked with athletes I worked with one in particular who had an injury, and dealing with that emotionally, right, and not being able to do what they were doing.
It's funny. I never think about injury. I always think about Derek. I always think about after sport. You know, like when your career ends, like how are you coping with that? Like I remember being at Derek Jeter's last game and saw him hitting a single to right field, coming around first base, the winning run scores. The Yankees didn't make the playoffs that season, but he got mobbed in like Jeter fashion. But when he was carried off the field, and I'm a Met fan, there was a level of sadness. I'm looking at him going, oh my God, like an era just ended. Here's a guy who had almost a 20-year career. Phenomenal. I'm not even him. And I couldn't imagine what he was going through. He looked so happy, but it was over. No more at-bats. It's done.
No, I do have a woman who is professional, and I'm not going to identify in what area or space, but she sort of aged out of doing what she was doing, and it was her whole life from the time she was 5, and she came to me, you know, is in school, has a new career. There's a grieving process that goes on, right? You have to sort of mourn the loss of what your identity was when you were that person, and then think about the things that you want to do now. It's a real pivot. That's a lot of emotional upheaval.
I saw some bit about depression in athletes, and I think there's a lot around injury where they devalue themselves, or the teams perceive them as to be less useful because of an injury, and there's a lot of athletes dealing with that as well. So I don't know if that's something we're dealing with.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, because it ties in with someone's identity. You know, if this is what you're known as, that you're this figure, and all of a sudden you're not able to do that anymore, you know, people start to feel their self-esteem will drop. They feel worthless. They don't know what to do.
I thought when I graduated from college and I went from playing baseball at a pretty high level to thinking I was going to go on to play baseball before that, and it doesn't work out. I remember, was there a grieving process? I jumped into fitness so fast, and that became like, it almost started transitioning into my obsession while baseball was going on. Like I remember going to a tryout with the Mets and the Mariners. I remember that day being like, all right, am I working out before the tryout or after? Like it was already on my head. And I think I was preparing myself for that. And when it ended, I jumped into this and I was like, all right, I'm going to take the same approach that I did with baseball. And that was the best case scenario.
That worked for you.
But I don't know how I would deal with it if suddenly it was like, all right, I'm not in the fitness world anymore. Like it's a big part of, this is such a big part of my identity. And I'm not ashamed to admit that. Like, do I wake up, is my body important to me? Yes, it is. Is my health important to me? Yes, it is. Is my business, is this place? I thought I was going to lose this place for years. Like, is it important to me? Of course it's important to me. If I lost Drive, like that's part of my identity.
Exactly.
But now, you know, my friend Randy and I were going into a new venture, and Drive, the name Drive will probably die in the next few months. And this new name is going to be kind of brought out from the woodworks. It's a change, but like, am I depressed about 15 years of Drive suddenly leaving? I still feel like a part of it's going to come live on, so I'm okay with it.
Yes.
But when I leave the space, if I leave the space, I think like when I see it with like no equipment in it and I'm looking at it, I think I'm going to be like, I don't know if I'm going to be emotional. I don't know if I'm going to be like, oh wow, I don't know how this feels. I don't know.
You don't know, and you won't know. But I think the idea of letting people know that there's a process there, and it's not crazy if someone feels sad about it.
What do you mean by process? So like,
well, like a process means that it's not something where you go from here's your home, right, Don? Like this is what you've been doing, and then all of a sudden there's a name change and you're in a new space doing something different that you won't experience some unease or loss or just feeling about it.
Sure.
Doesn't mean we have to wallow in it or get depressed over it. But just acknowledge that it's a change.
Love it.
Yeah, I know this is totally inappropriate, but if you do get emotional, you should film it and post it.
Jesus, Derek.
Yeah. It's all about
people are doing that now. It just seems so insincere also. It's like, you know, it's almost like, all right, you weren't the first person to do it. I get it. But now everyone's, especially like the 23-year-old, talking about life's lessons and, you know, feeling insecure. And I'm like, I get it and I appreciate it, but I know what you're doing. I'm not an idiot. Like I see what you're doing. Yeah, you're promoting yourself. All right. Well, listen, this was fun.
So much fun. Thank you so much.
I thank you for coming on.
Timing is excellent.
That might have seemed very basic, but I mean, I got a bunch of takeaways out of that today. I'm never going to ask Derek who his therapist is. That's the first one. So you said, give me those sites again. Your Instagram.
So melissanesle.com is the best way to do it.
Okay, we'll post that.
Yeah.
We'll put that up. And you're not huge on social, but
I'm there. You can find me.
Melissa Nesle. Okay. Thank you. D&D episode. Who knows what episode? Derek, I love you. Derek, can I call you in 5 minutes? Because I know we have to talk on things.
Derek, let me know. Thank you, Melissa. That was very helpful.
I'll call you in 5.
Bye.
Okay.